Every society must be governed by rules of discourse. Because once you lose the rules of discourse, you lose the discourse. And that's where we're careening towards. And the saddest part of all is the Republican Party is the party today that is hosting that debate.
That was Marco Rubio bemoaning the state of his party and the rhetoric of Donald Trump here in Florida, hoping to gain some ground on the front runner ahead of Tuesday's primary here. The winner of Florida's primary, the Republican side, will take home all 99 of the state's GOP delegates. And on the Democratic side, 246 delegates are up for grabs on Tuesday here in Florida. Those delegates will be awarded proportionally. Let's bring in political analyst Sean Pittman and Wadi Ghatan, Director of Communications for the Florida Republican Party. Good morning, gentlemen. Happy Sunday morning. I'm doing well, thank you. It's a warm one already here in Miami. Let's look at our new poll again for a second. It hasn't changed too much, but we've got a new poll out this morning. NBC, Wall Street Journal, Marist, showing Donald Trump at 43% here in Florida. Marco Rubio at 22% still, despite the fact that he has been trying and trying. He's all over Florida this morning. Is there any way, Sean, that he pulls out a win here?
You know what? I think it's late. I think it's a little late, and the polls have gone back to being above 20%. I mean, it looked like he was gaining some ground a week or so ago, but and there was some hope then. But even then, the hope was very, very slim.
And as you were listening to him, you nodded along and said he's making some sense on what he's saying about the party.
I think what he said yesterday, he sort of hit on the nail on the head. I mean, when you start talking about discourse, and I mean, he goes back to what I was suggesting to you yesterday. Now is the time for responsibility. I mean, Donald Trump has pulled the Band-Aid off of some of our wounds here in America, but now it's about how do we respond to that. And Donald Trump is not showing the responsibility of somebody who can be president of the United States. I mean, he's still ensuing the anger and the fight. You saw the tweet from last night.
Yeah, actually, the one this morning where
sure.
He says that he wants his own supporters to go now to potentially to Bernie Sanders events. Wadi, in the Washington Post this morning, GOP political consultants said that Trump's rhetoric is almost verbatim what segregationist George Wallace was saying in his third-party 1968 presidential campaign. This was the quote: "I don't know what's in Trump's heart, but I don't care. What he's saying is really hateful." What did the Democratic Party do with Wallace? They rejected him. Are you at a point in your party where you need to reject the words of Donald Trump?
Well, I think that's very much going to be up to the voters. I think this is a time, a very unique election, where voters really need to pay attention to every single word that the candidates are saying. What does that message mean for America? What does it mean for our communities? What does it mean for our parties? That's a decision they're going to have to make March 15th. That's the case that Marco Rubio is making on the stomp. Are we going to unite behind, a message of moving forward, of progress, of opportunity? Or he's making the contrast. Are we going to unite behind Donald Trump? So at the party, we're encouraging voters to pay very close attention and to play a key role in what is a very key election.
On the other hand, I spent last evening with Trump volunteers here in Florida, in South Florida, and they are energized. Sean, they are convinced that none of this is Trump's fault. They don't see it as him provoking anyone. They see it as him leading a movement that's going to bring change to this country. And I can't tell you, I met a woman last night who made 10,000 phone calls, 10,000 to people across Florida as a volunteer for Donald Trump.
Well, you know what? You can't just look at this in one bubble and simplify it, right? These aren't people who don't believe in this movement. I mean, they believe in it because he's tapping in on some things that they have that's affecting them every day. I mean, what are we pretending not to know here? America has changed. I mean, no longer with a high school degree can you actually go out and get a job, earn a living, send your kids to college. Now, these people have found a person to speak for them, and he's speaking in simple terms that they can go and talk to their friends about. That's why she made the 10,000 calls or however many calls she made, because she can speak to what he's talking about, and that brings in the anger and the fear, and they think they can do something about it by voting for him.
Wadi, if Jeb Bush doesn't step in and endorse Marco Rubio before Tuesday, is it over for Marco Rubio?
I don't think so. The reality is that Marco Rubio is spending a lot of time here in Florida, but he's also spending it in key areas. When you look look at the event he has today in the Villages, it is a key area. It's a senior community, a retired community. These are strong Republican voters. These are individuals that are going to participate in our primary. They're either going to vote today or probably March 15th on Election Day. So he's focusing on key areas. Then in Orlando, the I-4 corridor, we know it's where persuadable Republicans live, and there's a great opportunity. So he's, in my opinion, really visiting the right areas, and he's making a strong push. And we know that Marco Rubio has been here before. We're looking at these polls, but in 2010 in his Senate race when he was going against a Republican governor, he's been here before. So it's going to be interesting to see what the outcome is.
Should add to that, you're absolutely right about what Marco understands. In that I-4 corridor, almost 50% of Republican votes are there. So he understands he needs to spend his time there to try to change those folks' minds if they're the ones who.
That's where the Villages is, right? That's where he is this morning.
I-4 corridor is where he's at.
And spent all day yesterday
up there. It's important for him to be there.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Sean Pittman, Wadi Gatan. Great to see you both.
Great to see you.
Happy
Thank
Sunday
you.
to you. Marco Rubio.